this is Eduardo Jumbo. In this tutorial, I'm going to introduce Git pre-commit hooks. Before we begin, quick reminder that every day I'll be hosting a live stream. What you do is you visit ojumbo.com and then you go to the watch menu, then the live submenu, and you can see this current live stream is called Git Hooks For Pre-Commit. And you see the channel it's going to be on and the date and time. And you see some post-dated topics that will be for future live streams. So each of those articles, there will be a snippet at the top which will tell you, for example, you see it will tell you when the day of the live stream, tell you the time. It's always going to be Eastern time, and you're always free to ask questions about the programming or related topics. And for example, if you want this current live stream, there's a link here. You click it, you log in, and you'll be able to ask questions in the live chat. And during the live stream, I'll be able to answer them. Also, be sure to subscribe, like, follow, and leave comments for more frequent content. So, continuing on with this topic for today, tutorial, is sometimes you need, let's explain what Git hooks are first. So Git hooks are scripts that automatically execute at specific stages of the Git workflow, allowing for customized actions and automated workflows. So the hooks are stored in the hooks directory within a Git repository. So what this means is that you can have hooks just in your local project, and then you can also have remote hooks that execute after, for example, if you push things. So in this tutorial, we're going to focus more on the on your local hooks, which will be the pre-commit hooks. So you know how when you commit, just before the commit is successful, the pre-commit hook will actually act. So will actually be triggered. So the reason for this is so that, for example, you can do things like you can enforce code standards. You can run tests and perform actions before or after commits, pushes, and merges. In this case, it's just before the commit. I'll give you an example why you want to do this for the pre-commit hook is, for example, let's say you write some code and you maybe have some spelling mistakes, or there's some syntax errors. Maybe there's a test, like maybe the database is not connected or something like that. So those are the type of tests you want to run before you actually commit, even if this is just local as well. So, so the client-side hooks are triggered by the commit and merge operations, while the server-side hooks run on remote operations such as received pushes. I already explained that. So the pre-commit hook executes before a commit is made, allowing for actions like formatting code and running tests. I've already also gone that. So this tutorial I said we'll be creating a pre-commit hook to inspect the code, and it will basically, when it exits as non-zero from the pre-code, that means the commit will be aborted. And I'll show you this when we actually run. We'll create some code, PHP code and Python code, deliberately make it malformed. That way, this pre-commit hook works, and I'll show you how to do that. I'll use also bash as well. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to create a local repository, and then what we'll do is we'll create the pre-commit hook, and we'll make changes, staging files, committing with meaningful messages, and then we'll observe the output of the pre-commit hook. Now, before I might forget to this, is I use NetBeans as my preferred IDE. I've noticed that NetBeans doesn't actually, the pre-commit hooks do not work. That's because it uses something called eGit, which is a Java version of Git, and I guess it's missing some of this functionality. So if you want to do pre-commit to NetBeans, you have to do it on the command line. So if you don't know what Git is, it's a distributed version control system or a source code management. It's great for software collaboration. So I have a glossary here. I can explain what a repository is, what a branch, stage, commit. So commit, that captures stage changes as a snapshot to add to the repository's history. And I've already gone through this before in previous tutorials, like the diff, patch, merge, and hooks. So hooks are placed in the hooks directory, trigger action at certain points. So I'll explain, this will make more sense when I actually start coding. So to follow along for this tutorial, these are tools you need. Some type of text editor you can do in a command line. I have actually reviewed Apache NetBeans IDE, and I also reviewed Guinea, which I'll also review again because the audio for the Guinea one wasn't very good, so I'll review that one pretty soon. SSH, that's client, that you can use OpenSSH or a different one if you want. Shell access, this just means a terminal command line, and obviously you need Git. Okay, and Git is cross-platform compatible. Talking about the desktop versions, that means like Mac OS, Windows, and obviously Linux or BSDs or whatever you use. Okay, so the code snippets we're going to use are here. This is to create a local repository, and this is how to create the pre-commit hook. You can follow along in this video as well. I'll show you. So Git can be downloaded from git-scm.com, and you can read more about it here. And then there's different ways it's hosted. Like GitHub is probably the most popular one at the time of this recording, but there's others as well. For example, you see GitLab, Gitia, and there's quite a lot. You can also host yourself. That's what I do. All right, so let's here are the screenshots. You see, I'll display this again in the file browser, and this is my Git hook here as well. And then you can see what happens. This is the codes I have. I'll create this as well, so you'll be able to follow along. And then you see I created an empty file to test, and you see the Git hook say that the file is empty, so the commit was rejected. And here when I tried a PHP file, it also failed because I already added the empty file, and so it refused there. And then when I removed the text file, the PHP, it says PHP parse error. And then I also did the same thing for Python. As you can see, there's a Python error on line 2. And this is the video, the embedded video. If you don't want to click the channel link, you can just watch the embedded video. For example, if I click here, fuse there, you can see it plays. It's live right now. So as usual, as I said, Git is open source. It's under the GNU public license version 2. It's a copyleft license that allows commercial use, modification, distribution, and making derivative proprietary. You can consult the license for more specific details. I will also, as I promised, I will also do a video tutorial on licenses. I want to keep that separate. I don't want to go through licenses right now. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's actually minimize this and get started. So I have a folder here. It's completely empty. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller here because most of this stuff is going to be in the command line. So I'll open up the console. Oh, that's actually not too shabby. Okay. Okay, I'll make it a little bit smaller because most of this is not too hard, so you see what's going on. I'm going to zoom in, don't worry. So you guys can see what I'm doing. Let me clear. Okay, I'm zooming here, so you should be able to see what I'm typing. So this is the folder I'm in. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a project. So normally what you would do is you just make a folder, I call it local project. Okay, so that's a local project. Then I'm going to cd into that local project. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to type git int, and you see it created a branch, and Git has been installed. You see it's a .git, so it's a hidden file. So to see the hidden files, I just Control H here on Linux. You see Git, and then inside this Git folder, .git folder, you see there's a hooks folder. So we go in the hooks folder, and you see there's some of this. You see this is you see the commit sample. There's all this stuff, and for example, there should be a pre-commit hook. Yeah, see there's a pre-commit sample here. So I'm going to open this up in a text editor, and then I'm going to show you what this looks like. I'm going to expand. You see, so this is the pre-commit sample hook. And for example, it verifies the head, and then against the head, and then it does all these things like allow on ASCII. This means you want to follow non-ASCII file names, and then you see here it outputs to the standard DL, meaning it doesn't output to the onto the terminal, the console. And then you see here there's a cross-platform project. See all this stuff in here, and it explains the errors. and etc. So we're not gonna we're gonna create our own. So what I'll do is I'll just go back to the command line here, and I'll go inside this .git folder. So I see .git /hooks. So I'm in the hooks folder here. I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call it pre-commit. And see here, there should be a file called pre-commit. Yeah, so this is the file. You see, it's an empty file. I'm also going to make it executable. So because I might forget that later. Pre-commit. So you see this file is pre-commit. It's an empty file, so I'll just drag it into here. You see it's completely empty. Now I'm going to create my my own personal hook. So I'm going to use Bash, but you can use any programming language, script language you want. For example, you could use PHP, Python, literally anything you want. So with that out of the way, what I'm going to do is the first thing is, you can put some comments there. I'll say, what is this? Jambo.com pre-commit tutorial. I'll just say pre-commit. Obviously, it's a tutorial, that's redundant. Say pre-commit, and then I'll say checks file for empty, and also checks file syntax. Okay. So what I'm going to do, so the first thing I want to do is I'll type echo, you are about to, I'm going to get this out a little bit more, about to commit. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to, because you're able to commit multiple files, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this in here. So what this does, it does a git diff, gets the cached name only and diff filter ACM. So this will it will get the current file. You see it's name only, and then so diff cache means that's what's in the I guess the database. That's a cache one. And we've already talked about git diff. Okay, so it will do that. And then we want to know what branch we're on as well. So what you do is you type echo to so to get the current branch, it's simply you type git branch, and then show current. So to show me what branch I'm on, because sometimes when you're super busy, this actually happened to one of my customers. Is I taught him how to use Git actually NetBeans, and then what he would do is he would switch the branch to testing, then he would push the things to the live site. Then when he goes to his master branch, he said, Edward, there's a conflict. So something like this would have helped him. It would tell him, hey, you're on this branch. Are you sure you want to push these changes? You know what I mean? So that's why I'm putting this in here. Okay, so now with that out of the way, we want to get all the files. So to get the files, we use git status. So you see here we get git status -- porcelain, and then we use cut tool which is on Linux and POSIX type systems, and we get the column number. So this will tell us just the file name, because I don't care about any of the other stuff. All I care about is just the file name. So with that, I'm going to use bash here. I'm going to loop through all the so you see I'm going to use a for loop. I'm going to loop through all these files. The reason I'm doing this is because I need to see what type of file is it. For example, is it a PHP file? Is it a Python file? So the first thing I'm going to do is the simplest one, which is I check to see if it's empty. So if a file is empty, file. So this is how we check to see if it's an empty file. then so if it's empty, then all I do is I say echo, I get the file name, the $ file is empty. Okay, so the file is empty. Then I exit. Remember, as I told you before, if you exit one, that means the commit is not going to proceed. The commit will actually, the commit will be stopped. So you exit one, then it will just say the file is empty. Okay, then else if. That's how you do it in a bash. So what we do is I check to see if the file is a PHP file extension. So if it has the section PHP, then, so this is, if this is a PHP file, then what I want to do is I want to check the syntax of the PHP file. So it will be check how do you spell syntax? Okay, spelling this wrong. I'll just copy this. So PHP -L and the file name. So that will basically check to see if the syntax is correct. So I saved it inside the variable here. And make sure I don't make any mistakes. So what will happen is that we check to see if check syntax doesn't contain the word no syntax errors. So if it has no syntax errors, then that means that there was no syntax error. So what we do with that is very simple. We go down here and we type, we just type echo, no syntax errors. Pretty straightforward. Now we're going to have an else. Okay, so if there's an else, we're going to type, obviously there's going to be a syntax error. So we just type has errors. And then remember, we're going to exit 1. So again, then the commit would not proceed. Then we're done here. So we type fi, that means end the if or whatever if statement. That's the inner ifs here. Then remember, we still have our if to check. And now we're going to check to see if it's a Python file. So if the file is a Python, then what we're going to do is we need to check to see if, unfortunately, Python is not like PHP. So because Python, when you run Python, it has its own, it's basically like a built-in, it is an IDE already. So unfortunately, what we need to do is we need to use the -b here to get it to have an exit code. So then what we have to do is we grab that exit code for Python. That's how you get the exit code for Python. And then now we can have we check to see if the exit code had 0 in it. So you see, if the exit code equals 0, then what we do is we will check this. We know that there's no syntax errors. Else we know that there was syntax errors. So again, what we can do is we exit 1 after typing this message, which says a file, whatever the file name is, has syntax errors. So now with that, we need to close off our inner if statement here, and then the other one, and then finally we type done to get out of our for loop, and then of course exit 0, and that's it. So we're done here. Yeah, so everything is okay here. So this is our pre-commit hook. Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. I don't think I did, because I did copy the stuff. Yeah, I don't think I made any mistakes. So this is fine. Let me actually zoom out of here. So it'll be easier so you can see everything here. So as you can see, yeah, so this one ends this guy. This is all inside here. Okay, so that seems pretty good. Make sure I didn't, yeah, everything's fine. Okay, so with that out of the way, so this is our pre-commit hook. We don't need this pre-commit sample anymore, but we'll just get this out of the way. Now remember, I already made it executable. So you can also right click here and go to properties and go to permissions, and you can see, oops, wrong one. Should we go back? Okay, here we go. Yeah, you see it's ready, it's set to executable. So that's what we want. So I can get out of here now. And I think it was one more. Let me see where I am. Yeah, one more. Okay, so basically I don't need this anymore. So this is the Git folder. I'm going to, it's hidden again, so there's no files. So this is where we are now. Let's clear this. So this, make sure, yeah, there's nothing. So this is where we are now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an empty file. So I'll go touch empty.txt. I can also do the same thing. I could have simply just create a right click, a new document, and make it. So it's an empty file. And I can prove it's empty because when I cut empty, you see there's nothing inside. So it's a completely empty file. So what I'm going to do is, for this empty file, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, I'm going to commit only this empty file. So what I do is say git add, what's the name of this file? It's empty.txt, and I'm going to commit it now. It's like git commit the message, and I'll say testing empty. Okay, so guess what will happen? You see, it did not commit the file because it says you're about to commit. Remember, so that was from, if you forget, my first echo here, it says you're about to commit, and that's the name of the file. So the name of the file was empty, oops, here, it's empty.txt, and then the next one was to master, because that's a branch I'm on, to master. And you see when it went through this, all the files, obviously there's only one file this time, and then it says echo, the file was empty, so it says file is empty. It says empty.txt is empty, so that our pre-commit hook is working for empty files. Okay, next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a PHP file. So I'll call this one, what should I call it? I don't know, I can't come up with a name right now. I'll just say guy.py. I know, and I'll call it test. I'll say test.php. Okay, so it's an empty PHP file. Actually, I can probably just run the empty file, but it's also going to say that it's empty. So what I'm going to do then is I'll use the text editor, but you can also use the command line. So I'll just drag test.php into the text editor here, and then I will zoom in. Yeah, so you should be able to see what I'm doing. So this test.php file, give it a PHP syntax, because remember we're going to run PHP to check it. So PHP, and I'm just going to type echo. Now, this is a mistake because I should actually type something like either double quotes or something, or a variable, and I should also use the semicolon. So I clearly, this is wrong. This is deliberately malformed PHP file. So this PHP file will fail, and I'll prove to you that it's actually going to fail. So let me just minimize this. So for example, if I type php test.php, so you see there's an error. Obviously there's an error on line 4. That is correct. That's exactly what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove now, for example, if I try to commit, if I try to add this file, well, you see what I mean. So let me go and I'll say git add test.php. Now if I commit this, -m, and I'll say test php. You see, because it found, so it didn't commit this because it found the empty file. So what I need to do is I need to remove the empty file. So to remove the empty file, it's very simple. Use git rm for remove cache. Remember, everything is cache right now. So I'll cache and I'll remove the empty.txt file. So I've removed it from the git cache, but it's still in my folder, which is what I want. I don't want to remove it from here. So with that out of the way, if I go back and commit that testing.php again, guess what will happen? You see, now it found my PHP file and it says you're about to commit test.php to master, which is correct. Then it says syntax error, error unexpected, end of file, test.php on line 4, which is absolutely correct. So as I said, this is what pre-commit hooks are good for, is that you can use them to do your own test. Now this test is deliberate, but I'm saying that you can imagine if you had a lot of code, you had like different files, maybe JavaScript file, CSS file, you can run like linters to check if there's any errors in the code. Or like I said, you can even make it more complex where you can, for example, connect to the database. If it doesn't connect to the database, that could be an error. So those are the type of things. And you can also do other things. Like, for example, I have a WordPress plugin called, oh, I forgot the name of the plugin. Give me a second. Embarrassing. So I have a plugin called, here, I have a WordPress plugin called Customer Sets Price. It's a plugin for WooCommerce. So what I do, I actually do use the pre-commit hook. And then after, if it checks everything is okay, what it does is I generate a JSON file. And then this is how I'm able to also zip up the file and upload it to a server. So if somebody purchases the plugin, they'll get the latest version. Or to also tell them that the latest version is available. So that is all with the pre-commit hook. Hello. Sidhand. I hope I spelled that. I hope I said that right. Sidhand. I think. Hello. Okay. So now that is with the, obviously, as you saw with the PHP file. Now I'm also going to create a Python file just to show you how the pre-commit hook also works. So now with the Python file, I am going to actually have valid Python, but I'm going to, okay, you'll see what I was doing. So let's also make a Python file here. So I type test. So I'm going to say touch test.py for Python. And this Python file, I am going to actually, I'm going to use a Python file I used, I created for a previous tutorial. So what I'll do is I'll open up this text editor here. It's like the Python is just an empty file now. And now what I'll do is I'll zoom in a little bit. What is it here? Control. Here we go. So I'm going to paste in a valid Python. So this Python is valid. You see, there's two variables. Oops, I forgot one little thing here. Oh, I'll put it later. So it's num5, num6. This is valid. If num5 is greater than 6, print this. If it's else if num5 is equal to num6, it says they're equal, and else num5 is greater than num6. So this is valid Python, and I'll prove it to you. So if I actually go in the command line here and I type Python -b, and the file name was test.py, you see, it's a valid file. It says num5 is greater than num6, which is exactly what that's correct, because this is a valid file. Now I'm going to make this file invalid by basically first I'll tell you where I got this from. It's from it's actually from jumboshop.com, learning Python if else statement tutorial. I did this, I think it was last year. Okay, so then this is just a comment, so that's obviously valid. Then what I'll do is I'll just make up some variable here. I mean, I'll just type something gbgbg. So this makes absolutely no sense. Is it a variable? It's not initialized or anything. So this should now fail. So I save this. Now if I run that same file again, you see there's an error. And you see it's going to say name gbgbg is not defined. That's correct. That's what I wanted. Now it clearly has an error in it. So let me minimize this. That's out of the way. So it says name error, whatever is not defined. That's exactly what we want. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to add this to the I'm going to stage this as well. So test.py. Now, if I run the commit, if I say git commit testing Python, as I'm sure you guys can guess, it's going to have the same problem. It's going to say because the PHP file is still there. So I need to get rid of the PHP file here. I'm going to remove it from the cache because it's just a tutorial. Obviously, if this was a real project, I would obviously fix those errors. So remove cached, and then the file to remove is test.php. So you see, test.php still remains here, but it's removed from the cache. So it's remember, because it wasn't committed. There's no commits. I can prove there's no commits. If I type git log, you see there's no commits yet. You see, because nothing has been committed, because the pre-commit hook prevented the commits from prevented the commit from going through because of the errors in the empty file, the PHP file, and the Python file. So what I'm going to do now is, if I run this commit again, guess what will happen? Allah, there we go. So it's telling us that you're about to commit test.py, which is correct, and then it says to master, which is the branch I'm on, and then it says, you see this, it printed out this error message, and then you see this gbgbg name error is not defined, and it says test.py has syntax errors, and so then I would have to fix this thing. So you know what, let's actually go fix this, because it's a very simple fix. So open this back in the text editor. Here we go. If I remove this now, we already confirmed that it's valid. So I save. You see it's saved. Close this. Now if I commit, guess what will happen? It says you're about to commit to master is greater than, and test.py has no syntax errors, which is what I wanted, and it text is empty. I don't know why it's saying this. Git status. Oh yeah. So these are the files which have not been committed yet. The others were committed. So as you can see, the modified file git changes not staged. We'll let's check the git log. Oh, no commits yet. Why did it do that? New file to be committed. You're about to commit. Yeah, no syntax errors. That should have been committed. So that's I don't know why that wasn't committed. That should have been committed because it wasn't empty. So there we go. So that's how you run the that's a pre-commit hook. Basically it checks, as I said, as you can see the results that I fixed the error. It says there's no syntax errors. Then it's able to be committed, and there we go. All right, so that's the end of the coding part of this tutorial. Let's get out of here and go back to the article, and we'll finish this up. Quick reminder that I host a live stream every single day. You go to ojambo.com, you go to the watch menu, live sub menu, then you can see the current live stream now, the channel it's going to be on, and date and time, and then these are the post-dated tutorial topics for future live streams and the date they're going to be on the channel. Yeah, also be sure to subscribe, like, follow, and leave comments for more frequent content. If you enjoy this, consider supporting me. You can purchase one of my WordPress plugins at ojambo.com. You can enroll in my programming courses at ojamboshop.com. You see I have JavaScript, Python, and PHP. Or you can buy my programming books on Amazon. You search for @ojambo, links in the description. You can see I have JavaScript both in paperback and ebook, and I also have the Python and PHP in ebook versions. And you can also hire me for your programming needs at ojamboservices.com, or even better, you can become a donor at ojambo.com/donate. The donate button is also up here in the fixed header. Okay, so I don't see any more chat requests, so I'm going to end the live stream now and see you guys in the next one. Thank you.